Right now on KGW News at noon, a fatal shooting involving ICE and a civilian in Minnesota, sparking protests nationwide, including here in Portland.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
Plus, the U.S. Senate takes the first step in curbing President Donald Trump's power over the military as questions mount about U.S. actions against Venezuela. And later, we're approaching 24 hours until kickoff in the highly anticipated rematch between the number 5 Ducks and number 1 Hoosiers. But first, a KGW weather impact alert has been issued for snow in the Cascades, though conditions are set to change before the end of the day. We have those details ahead. Your news at noon starts now. Our top story here at noon, protesters clashing with law enforcement today in Minneapolis after a 37-year-old woman was shot and killed by an ICE agent. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Stephanie Domerat. The shooting happened yesterday in a residential neighborhood south of downtown Minneapolis. The Trump administration describes the killing as an act of self-defense. Brian Abel has more from Minneapolis.
Federal agents deploy a chemical agent as protesters and law enforcement clash. People in Minnesota gathered in the streets Thursday to protest the killing of 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good by an Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent.
This is not America. This is not how we grew up. This is not the Constitution. This is not democracy. This is not it.
Wednesday, video from the scene shows officers approaching an SUV that is blocking the roadway. They tell the driver to exit the vehicle, but she does not. Then, after the gunshots, the vehicle crashes into a nearby parked car.
Can I go check a pulse?
No! Back up! Now!
I'm a physician!
Hey, listen, we have our own medics.
Where are they? Where are they?
It was very obvious to everyone who had witnessed it all that she would not make it.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem defended the agent's actions, saying he was following his training.
ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car. She refused to obey their commands. She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle, and she attempted to run a law enforcement officer over.
State and local officials, including the city's mayor, reject that.
The narrative that ICE is spinning immediately after this was that this was purely self-defense and that the act by the victim was some sort of domestic terrorism. That, and I'll say it again, is.
That was Brian Abel reporting for us. While that shooting happened across the country in Minneapolis, vigils and protests were held here in Portland. Alma McCarty spoke with some people who say they felt saddened but not surprised by the news.
Someone lost their life today.
Expressions of outrage.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
And moments of silent reflection on the streets of Portland.
And it was just terrifying that we kind of been waiting for this to happen, and the fact that it did was just terrifying to see.
Vigils downtown and in front of the ICE facility in memory of Renee Nicole Good, the 37-year-old mother shot and killed by an ICE agent in Minneapolis.
It was shocking to see it happen in that way, to see someone that was trying to help get caught up in that, and I can only imagine the terror. I've seen their violence in person, and so I understand why she didn't get out of her car and why she was afraid and trying to get out of there.
The federal government characterizing the interaction differently, with DHS saying the woman was attempting to hit agents with her vehicle.
I think that's absolutely disgusting. Renee Good was a mother. It sounded like she was artistic. She had a community. She was out there just following ICE and making sure that immigrants are protected. So Kristi Noem is clearly trying to, spin the story, make it seem as though it was justified. But anyone who watched that video can see that that clearly was not justified.
As Minnesota leaders called for the removal of ICE from their community, Portlanders echoed those demands here, saying ICE and other federal agents have acted recklessly.
Just breaking the rules more and more, just trying to push the boundaries.
It's why some neighbors have been monitoring ICE activity. Outside the ICE building, Pastor Heather Hellman from Multnomah Presbyterian Church told us she spends her mornings here with legal observers, helping people understand their rights and paying close attention to the actions of agents.
These are people that are trying to be peacemakers. These are people that are trying to follow the commandments of Jesus, right, that I follow, that say, love your neighbor, help the immigrant.
That was Alma McCarty reporting for us. Representative Andrea Salinas from Oregon's 6th Congressional District called the shooting a, quote, preventable tragedy, writing in part, quote, "This is not the first such shootings, and without accountability, it will not be the last." This morning, Portland Mayor Keith Wilson released a statement saying in part, quote, "I deplore the callous, sickening rhetoric administration officials use to defend the indefensible and call for swift accountability," end quote. We're also tracking a mass shooting that happened yesterday at a Salt Lake City church that killed at least 2 people and injured several others. It happened in the parking lot at a Salt Lake City Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. A funeral was reportedly happening inside the church at the time. Police say they are still searching for a suspect.
This should never have happened. This should never have happened outside a place of worship. It should not have happened at a celebration of life that was occurring inside of the church.
Authorities don't believe the incident was targeted against a religion. They also don't think the shooting was random. And turning now to our weather impact alert coverage for more heavy snow expected in the Cascades. And with all the recent snowfall, Timberline has announced that crews are working to get the rest of the ski area open for the season. Jeff Flood and Summit Pass will open today. Storm in Norman is expected to open up for skiers and boarders tomorrow. According to their website, Heidi's at Summit Pass is still closed while they wait for some more snow. And here to break down just how much snow is headed our way, let's check in with Chris McGinnis in the Weather Center.
A few more inches. Yeah, we're on the back end of this storm system now, not only down in the valley, but up high as well. But it is still a winter wonderland up there. There's a live look right now in Government Camp. So yeah, the weather impact alert continues for the Cascades. All Cascade passes right now, or at least Willamette, Santiam, and Government Camp. You have traction and chain requirements, traction tire or chain requirements to get through there, as of course the ground is still pretty snow covered. Additional snowfall on the order of maybe 2 to 3 inches or so before things are all said and done. Really the impact is the snow covered roads that continue to exist up there. So if you're heading that direction, obviously be prepared. The snow zone, by the way, on US 26 extends from Government Camp all the way to Warm Springs. So be aware of that. Okay, down low, the showers are actually really dissipating here over the last couple of hours. Really not a lot going on from Cowlitz County all the way down to Marion County as the I-5 corridor continues to dry out. That said, it's still pretty cloudy out there. The live look from the spring to the waterfront in Vancouver shows a mostly cloudy sky. 44 right now in Vancouver. The live look over downtown Portland, we're 43 last check at PDX with a freezing level, by the way, at 2,300 feet. So it's pretty low. And in Salem, we're starting to see a few breaks in the clouds there at 43. All right, the plan for the rest of the afternoon, we keep the shower chance alive, but really those will be pretty few and far between. We inch up into the mid-40s, and then I've got a dry forecast Friday and Saturday, and not Sunday.
Oh.
We've got rain coming our way on Sunday, late rain. We'll look at that coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Chris. In other local headlines today, we now know the name of a burglary suspect arrested after a nearly 6-hour standoff in Southwest Portland on Tuesday. Jonathan Cook was safely taken into custody around 11 o'clock Tuesday night. Authorities say this all began when a man says he found a stranger in his apartment. After the man escaped, police say Cook barricaded himself in a bedroom. It took hours of negotiations, but Cook eventually came out and is now charged with burglary. He is set to be arraigned at 2 o'clock this afternoon. In Salem, community members came out to both oppose and support a convicted murderer appointed to a police review board. Kyle Hedquist was granted clemency by former Governor Kate Brown after he was convicted of murder in 1994 when he was 18. Law enforcement says he shot his victim in the back of the head to keep her from telling police about some burglaries he'd committed. At the special meeting last night, city councilors and the public were sharply divided on whether Hedquist should be allowed to serve on this community police review board. You'll hear some opposition, then from Hedquist himself.
Mr. Hedquist is a convicted murderer. While his life sentence was commuted, the life he stole was not. You cannot commute a victim back to existence. Yet some of this council saw fit to grant a man barred from volunteering at a school or even sitting in a police cruiser unless it's in the back the authority to oversee law enforcement.
The death of Nikki Thrasher is the gravity that pulls at everything I do. I ended her life, and I am forced to live with the agonizing math of that reality. I can never give enough, serve enough, or do enough to equal the life that I took. That debt is unpayable. But it is that same debt that drives me back into the community.
In the end, council voted to remove Hedquist from the review board and to adopt new criminal history background check guidelines for future appointments. And now a look at some of your national headlines this afternoon. Today, Senate lawmakers have advanced a resolution to limit future U.S. military force in Venezuela without congressional approval. 5 Senate Republicans voted with Democratic senators to allow a future vote on limiting the president's powers. It comes less than a week after the U.S. captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in an overnight raid. The full measure is expected to pass next week, which would require 51 votes in the Senate. However, it would still need to withstand a full amendment process. The House is expected to vote on a similar measure next month. We'll have more on the potential next steps in Venezuela ahead in our next half hour. The House has approved a motion to consider a 3-year extension of the ACA tax credits that expired at the end of 2025. 9 Republicans joined all Democrats in support of the measure. The House is now debating the 3-year Obamacare subsidy extension legislation. A final passage vote is expected later today. Researchers at the University of Oxford say many people who stop taking GLP weight loss drugs return to their previous weight within 2 years. A new study found the rate of weight gain is faster in people who have stopped using the popular weight loss drugs than those who lost weight by changing lifestyle or diet or exercise. Other researchers not involved in the study have cautioned the paper's long-term conclusions are based on a projection of data and is more interpretive than definitive. And those are your national headlines.